Car salesman of Reddit. What's something you don't want customers to know when buying a car? As usual on Reddit, you ask car salesmen, and you get answers from people that buy cars once every 5 years at the most. You want real specific advice from car salespeople? AskReddit sales. The only time I've ever purchased a car, the salesman was fairly straightforward with me about the price and we came to a mutually agreeable deal. I honestly don't understand why people feel the need to play this game when it comes to car sales. If the dealer wants to mess around, find another one. It's really that simple. I'm no car salesman, but according to commercials it's the goddamn Carfax. As a former car salesman, our greatest fear was your smartphone. If we gave you a number and you had a smartphone in your hand with AutoTrader or some other site pulled up, we were neutered. Also, salespeople have little to no power. The sales manager is the person you want to speak to. As a basic salesman, I just want the sale no matter what. The manager is actively keeping us both from what we want. The one thing I've seen car salesmen fly into a rage over is comparison shopping, where customers call up and say they have other offers on a car. What's your best offer? And basically the customer actually makes the dealer give the lowest out the door price they're willing to. Or the customer never even comes in and gets in a high pressure sales situation. Salesmen have to do it in a lot of situations. Making a sale is more important than maxing out profit. But boy do they hate it. Since I never see them rage against other car buying tactics that supposedly save money. Like people who come in at the end of the month or right before the end of the year. And I've used the tactic myself for the best deal I've ever gotten. I really think that aggressively comparison shopping is the one technique that really saves you money. During negotiations on price they will need to take a call and leave you in their office to discuss while they take the call elsewhere. Reality, he just put the phone on speaker and is listening into your conversations from the outside phone. This isn't so much a don't tell you thing as it is a word of warning. If they draw a box and divide it into 4 quadrants, leave. 4 square sales technique. I just bought a car, and as a 20-year-old girl, I wasn't taken seriously. I was going to pay cash that day, but they were trying to get an extra 3 grand out of me before I pulled out my smartphone. Then they still weren't treating it as a real deal, so I physically got out of my chair, shook his hand, and started walking out. After that they took my counter offer and I basically bullied them down to a reasonable price with repairs thrown in. Got away just under KBB. Take them by surprise. Works pretty well. I have a couple of buddies who are new car salesmen, and here's the thing they really do not want you to know. You can buy a late model used car for a lot less than a new car and get a much better deal. Till I think I'd rather just build my own car from scratch than go to a dealership. This car will not get you laid. As a former car salesman I can tell you something I desperately want all customers to know. I'm a ducking human being and I have a schedule. Just like you. If you make an appointment with me, the least you could ducking do is let me know you're not going to show. Especially when I come in on my ducking off day to see you. Never answer the question how much do you want to spend per month. You are basically saying you don't care what the final price is. Or the interest. If you say I want to spend $100 a month, they will sell you the Pinto for $45,000 at 30% interest with a 50-year loan. Only tell them what you want to pay for the car. The monthly payments are then calculated off that amount, factoring in down payment, length of loan and interest rate. I see a lot of auto comparison suggestions on here. I personally use BJ's Auto Online. Costco has a similar program. Basically you go online and alert the dealerships in the area you're buying a car. The site then sends the model of car you want to every dealership within 100 miles or so, and they start sending back quotes. I got $3,000 lower on a car than the best I could haggle for in 10 minutes. I have been a finance manager for over 15 years. Yes, I am aware that I'm the lowest form of life in most of your eyes. That being said, those of us that have been around for a while haven't done it by lying and cheating. That is not to say I don't have a few tricks up my sleeves, but most of that comes from negotiating 5 or 6 car deals a day rather than 5 or 6 in a lifetime. There is not one magic bullet that will grant you a great deal on a car. Just be informed. That is really all there is to it. Spend 20 minutes online and you can get all the information you really need. Also make sure you understand what your budget is before you set foot in a dealership. I am always shocked by the number of people who aren't sure how much payment they can fit into their budget. If you come in not firm on what the top end you are willing to pay is, trust me, you will leave having spent more than you can afford. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. The weather is crap here today, so I will be lurking around for most of it. The same old dribble on here so far. Here's something no one else is saying and never says on this topic. Once you're in the business long enough, you can pretty much read anyone. I know whether or not you are going to buy a car the moment we begin talking, or sometimes even earlier. I quit selling cars on Saturday. The money is great. The people are it. You are who you surround yourself by. But anyhow, here's what you don't know that we pray you don't know. There's always a chain of command. But before you get mad at your salesperson, remember, he's got a boss telling him to do this, and a boss telling his boss to tell you to do whatever. However, there's a process. When you walk in the door, we're truly not trying to sell you a car. When you put your walls up immediately, it's hard to find out if you have an appointment, are looking for parts, looking for a specific paint color because you're working on a project, etc. As a salesman, my job was to identify who you are and what you're looking for. But it all starts here. I'm going to skip a bunch of the process in between and jump straight to the numbers. So you've seen the car, we've seen your trade in if you brought one, and you're sitting at the desk. I bring you a numbers sheet. Here's the process you need to know. Whatever sheet I bring you is not going to be the lowest cost of the car. The dealer options listed on the first sheet can be cancelled to $0 no matter what. After discussing what you are considering the car should be at, ask for a VC screen printout. This is the dealership's vehicle cost screen. It's what the dealership owns the car for. Then tell them you want the vehicle at that price. That's the biggest secret in the car business. Hopefully this floats to the top. But here is an e-armor from a car salesman about 2 years ago that was very informative. Ex-car salesman here, and I'm not seeing the number one way we used to duck people on the car lot anywhere on this list. One of the first questions any salesman worth his salt will ask you is how much money you plan to put down on the purchase of your vehicle. This question, to itself, is reasonably innocuous. If he hasn't quoted you a price on a vehicle before you answer this, though, you're going to basically lose your whole down payment on the used car you're purchasing almost every time. Let me give you the prime example of this in a real world example. We had a 70-year-old man come on the lot looking for a regular cab pickup for his grandson, who was proud to tell the salesman that he had $10K to put down on the vehicle. We had an 09 regular cab GMC Sierra on the lot that fit him perfectly. Nada on the truck was $16,700. So we know that we can get the bank to finance a little more than that on the vehicle. Since we didn't have a price posted on the truck, we told him it would set him back $26,900, and that was already less than we owned it for. This old man basically donated $10 grand to the dealership. I got fired a few months later when I wouldn't pull the trigger on a similar deal with one of my own customers. All dealerships do this, and it's the single biggest pitfall you can run into on a used car deal. As a former car salesman, the best kind of customer is a person that is buying a new car and trading in one that is 3 or less years old. Commission to the salesperson on a new car sale is $100 or less, and you might sell 10-12 cars a month. So the only way the salesperson is gonna make any $$ off someone purchasing a new car is to lowball the trade-in that the customer won't sell for themselves. Used cars on a lot are marked up at least $4,000 from the price the dealership paid for it, and added value items such as detailing and safety inspections cost the dealership almost nothing because they are performed by a minimum wage lot boy. Also, the finance manager is a salesperson. His office is the last best chance for the dealership to squeeze the tube dry before you sign the purchase agreement. Be wary of any product or service being sold from that office. Why would I tell you that, when you can just come on down to Crazy Freddy's Auto Shop on Route 98 in Secaucus? You're looking for a great deal? We've got them all. Dodge, Ford, Chevy, Toyota, you name it, we have it all with 0% APR, and if you find a better price on the car I'll throw in an extra $2,000. That's $2,000. You'll be crazier than me. Crazy Freddy not to come down today. I sold new and used Hondas. There really are no secrets if you do your research. I'll just talk about new vehicles for a second. Every dealership buys cars for the same price. This makes price the easiest part of your car buying adventure. Always get internet prices. These are the lowest and most competitive prices between dealerships. Get internet prices from every dealership in the state, and even out of the state. Make sure that these internet prices are out the door. Tell them you need to know because you are getting an exact check from your bank, even if you aren't. Now that you have the lowest price, go to the closest, or preferential, dealership on the last day of the month, and negotiate using the lowest price in mind. Don't say it, but mention upfront you've been shopping internet prices. Keep negotiating till you've beat the lowest internet price. Congratulations, you've already won. But, because it's the last day of the month, keep going. A dealership may lose money on a car to meet a quota. Close bracket. Former car salesman. We use the black book. This is how we really appraise your car. KBB isn't getting you anywhere. How much of a commission do most car salesmen get? Is it different for new and used? Former salesperson here, and I worked for a reputable dealer. We never hid anything and I always explained everything in detail before we went to the finance office. After receiving an oral agreement but not signed, we went into my office and I showed the customer the Carfax. They did not request to see it, but the car had been in an accident. They thought it over and still agreed to buy the car. I wanted them to feel 100% secure in their decision, and they did. Always asked to see the Carfax. I worked primarily with new cars, and it was very frustrating. The markup on new cars is not as high as what you might think. Salespeople really have to work for that commission. 2. Average on a new car, for me, was $100 to $300. I made minimum wage on top of commission. But, the training that I had to go through was very intense. I spent a lot of time studying the new cars, more studying and testing involved than when I was in college. When you purchase a vehicle, you want to know everything about that car, right? Please keep in mind that the salespeople really have to work for that commission. On top of the training, we are supposed to follow up with the sale and make sure the customer is happy. I received and answered calls and texts constantly, more often than not. During my precious off time or after hours, I worked 60+ hours a week with no overtime pay. If you want an honest, hard-working salesperson, please understand this. You want the best sale, but don't waste their time. If you're not 100% serious, then don't even talk about price. Edmonds puts one of their guys undercover as a car salesman. Confessions of a Car Salesman. Long, but worth a read. My absolute least favorite thing they do is what monthly payment would it take for me to get you in this car today? Yeah. I don't care about the monthly payment because you can manipulate that by extending the term. And just because your name tag says you work in finance doesn't mean I'm going to fall for everything you say.